Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Jerusalem's Gate. I pray everybody's doing well. Well, we have the situation in Ghouta, right next to Damascus, just a suburb of Damascus, and the UN passed a resolution for a 30-day halt or truce on the fighting, and Russia came back and said they'll do it 5 hours a day. And who didn't know that that wasn't going to work? The bombing continues, the suffering continues, the innocent women and children and men are dying in the bombing. Everything continues like it was before the truce or the agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, the suffering of the citizens of Ghouta, East Ghouta and Ghouta, and that's just right next door to Damascus, is reached a point of total war. When I say total war, it's like what happened in World War II, where you kill civilians, you just wanted to kill and destroy more things than the enemy can kill and destroy. And I mentioned this verse many times because it's so relevant in what is happening today. Now, is this verse, Isaiah 17:1, going to come true in this Syrian civil war that's going on 8 years? I do not know 100%, but the way the cards are falling, it looks very, it seems very strange that it's lining up exactly like the prophets foretold. Isaiah 17:1, and I'm sure most of y'all heard this by now. The burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city and shall be a ruinous heap. Now, the pro-Assad Russia-backed, the Russian bombing, the pro-Assad bombing on the women and children and innocent men has got to stop. The world community has got to stop this grave crimes against humanity and human rights atrocities. And I'm not afraid to state that because I have a right to my opinion. And everybody has a right to their opinion. And I think that innocent women and children are wrongfully dying for nothing just because they live in Ghouta, and they're just trying to get by their daily life. It's so sad. It breaks my heart, and I tell you, I'm at the point of tears of seeing a video of the destruction and the hell that those citizens are going through. But Isaiah 17:1 may very well likely come true. Now, the fighting is surrounding Damascus and Damascus countryside, even a little in Damascus and Ghouta, which is right next door to Damascus. And the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city and it shall be a ruinous heap. We may very well see that come true, ladies and gentlemen. I got an article here from Reuters and a video from Reuters that I wanted to show you. Russian truce plan fails to halt bombing of Syria's Ghouta. A Russian call for a 5-hour truce on Tuesday failed to halt one of the most devastating campaigns of the Syrian war, where residents said government warplanes resumed striking the eastern Ghouta region on Tuesday after a brief lull. Moscow and Damascus blamed rebels for the collapse of the truce, saying fighters had shelled a safe route intended for civilians to leave the enclave. The insurgents denied such shelling. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow would press on with a plan to stage similar daily pauses in fighting, allowing aid to be delivered to eastern Ghouta through what Russia describes as a humanitarian corridor. The United Nations said it was proving impossible to aid civilians and evacuate the wounded, and said all sides must instead abide by a full 30-day ceasefire demanded by the UN Secretary Council. It's very simple. Stop the fighting for 30 days and maybe there'll be a break in this. I got a video here that I want to show you from Reuters. It's also from Reuters. Let's watch this video.
After a week of intense bombardments on the last rebel-held neighborhood near the Syrian capital, a moment of calm. A 5-hour truce called by Russia, the Syrian government's main backer, is now taking hold. Over 500 people have been killed and thousands injured in a week of fighting in Ghouta, a major target for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The idea is this daily pause in fighting from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. will allow civilians to escape the area and give doctors a chance to evacuate the sick and wounded. Many residents have spent the week hiding in basements with little food. But the plan has its critics. The spokesman for one of the main rebel groups accuses Russia of presenting people with an impossible choice: forced displacement or being killed in bombardment or siege. A UN resolution that passed Saturday demanding a 30-day truce has fallen on deaf ears. Opposition activists fear this latest Russian plan still allows the fighting to continue for most of the day.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's reached such a human
and
rights...
give doctors a chance to evacuate the sick and wounded. Many residents have spent the week hiding in basements with little...
There you go. I'm sorry about that pause. Ladies and gentlemen, it's gotten to a point where there's no consideration for the innocent. Absolutely no consideration for the innocent. And it saddens me to see the suffering of the people in Ghouta, and it breaks my heart to pieces. But with that being said, you're watching and listening to another broadcast of Jerusalem's Gate. God be with all y'all in the name of Jesus Christ.